Dude, what if this thing had a diesel in it?
What if it had a 5-speed?
A 5-speed? You know, it'd be cooler if it had turning brakes, like a sand car.
It would be. Twin turbos?
Yeah, I mean, no one ever thought one turbo was cooler than two.
Isn't it cooler?
It's gotta blow that smoke. Big injectors.
Big and cooler, the back went down.
Mm-hmm. Yep, big injectors. Big turbo, 2 turbos. Big clutch.
Razor suspension?
Razor suspension? Yeah, that's a lot better than Rhino suspension. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Ray.
I'm Fred.
And we're sitting in what eventually is going to be something pretty cool. Hopefully. This is a dream that I've had for probably about 13, 14, 15 years of creating kind of the ultimate side-by-side of our world. I've always had a diesel shop, and in the last few years we started doing UTV stuff. And I started this project by buying a Volkswagen diesel Beetle that was wrecked and wanted to put the motor in something cool. I also had this old Yamaha Rhino that was blown up that originally had 28 horsepower that I said I would never put a stock motor back in. So I decided back then in 2011, it's now 2024, that I wanted to put a diesel Rhino together with a Volkswagen TDI motor and 5-speed, because everybody complains about blowing belts, right? So we decided to try and start this journey. This is like revision, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4,
right,
of quite a few different parts. I've got crazy help right here. He's a big reason why this project's eventually going to be finished. So there's a lot that I have to, give him a lot of credit for getting this thing done. And we're getting pretty close. It might not look like it right now. We're just sitting in an open chassis that pretty much just looks kind of like a tube chassis. And at this point, there's Rhino from about here to here on the frame. And from right here, right? Was
about right here in the dashboard. That's about it.
That's Razor. And the back is kind of a mix between custom fab and Razor. So basically, kind of looking in from the outside of the UTV world, when I first started building this, is like everybody was bending radius rods, everybody was blowing belts. Obviously, stock cages don't last. So we wanted to get away from all that. So basically, the build is a 05 Yamaha Rhino kind of platform. It's going to have those plastics on it with a 2002 Volkswagen ALH motor. That we're going to get as much parts in as we can eventually, and a 5-speed transmission out of a gas Volkswagen now. It was a diesel until like a week ago.
Right.
And we found out that the gas has a lower gear ratio, so it's going to have a lower gear ratio gas transmission in it and 5-speed. I wish it was in here right now, but Fred just finished, he just figured out how to make the shifter work. It's a cable operated transmission, so he masterminded how to figure all that stuff out. And then we decided, since we're redoing all the brakes, that we might as well add turning brakes to it, like a little sand car. And the rear suspension, I mentioned radius rods. We don't have any radius rods. It's got a trailing arm, but it's more like an A-frame style trailing arm that doesn't have the radius rods for support. They're beefy trailing arms, but they go to a Razor hub. I didn't have that before until Fred started helping me with this project. He really
utilizing Razor brakes, Razor brakes up front, Razor hubs.
Yep. And one of the first times we went to the dunes with my Razor, he realized that the front end I had was probably not going to be very tough.
I realized after one trip that it was going to be very insufficient for what was going to be going on in this. So I decided to just cut the whole front of this project off and start back over.
So I have to kind of like let go and let him run free with his ideas in it. And so put a Razor front end on it so we have easy access parts. Now we can, if we're out somewhere and we need a wheel bearing, we can go get a Razor wheel bearing or a brake rotor or a caliper or something like that too. So the steering is also all Razor now, so it took a lot of the guesswork out of that stuff and kind of simplified it a little bit and made it easier to find parts for. What else have you done that's pretty custom on it that's been a feat to get over?
A lot of the tin works, getting rid of all the plastic flooring, all the plastic firewall, going to all full aluminum firewall flooring, rear paneling for behind the seats to the engine, gas tank, radiator.
Yeah, and we'll have to get into, like, when we start putting it back together, we'll go through like what we did there and whatnot. But right now, the feet right now is kind of like the axle situation in the back, because one's way longer than the other, and we have a lot more suspension than the car had. Instead of the car, you know, the motor's in the back of this thing. So instead of the engine and transmission being up under the hood of the car, and the, you know, now it's in the back. So it's feeding both rear tires with the axles. So we just kind of figured out how to do that by utilizing a gear out of the transmission, and then we're gonna kind of we're having custom axles built. So that will be something that's custom built, is the axle shafts in the rear. So hopefully I'm not too hard on those and break them. We might have to get a spare. But yeah, I like to break stuff. So once we get this thing done, there should be some good content of us out seeing what breaks first, and hopefully doing some wheelies. And like, basically the goal is just kind of like a little sand car. It's going to be 2-wheel drive, so we won't be rock crawling with it, but it should do really well in the sand and cruising around and, you know, parking lot stuff and whatnot. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll start posting a lot more on the build and progress of it. We have a event that we're trying to get to. It's we're in the end of May. We have a month,
25th May,
until UTV Takeover in Coos Bay. So the goal is to have it running and driving under its own power. Maybe not doing wheelies and hood rat stuff, but driving under its own power through vendor row and able to run the motor and stuff like that. So that's the goal. So cheer us on. We'd like to kind of provide some good content and something different for you to watch. And, you know, maybe you can learn something off of what Fred's doing on it. I don't get a lot of time to work on it, so he's a major help to me in getting the project finished, because without him I would never probably have it done. We're going on year like 14, but a lot of progress that has happened on this is in the last, I don't know, year.
Yeah, year to two.
So, but yeah, it should be fun. Subscribe to the channel and tag along with us.